Welcome back to Touchline Talk, the show where we dive deep into the minds, methods, and moments shaping modern football. I'm your host, Brandon Faust, and today we're exploring one of the most intriguing young managers in the game right now, Fabian Hürzeler. At just 31 years old, he has already established himself as one of football's brightest tactical innovators, a coach who blends German precision with modern positional play and fearless adaptability. He was born in the state of Texas, and in his first season at Brighton Hove Albion, he guided the Seagulls to an 8th place finish in the Premier League, an impressive achievement for a coach making the leap straight from the second tier of Bundesliga. And if the start of the 25-26 season is any indication, Hürzeler and Brighton are only getting stronger. Sure, they've had their blips, sitting mid-table, but with wins over Manchester City in August and Chelsea in September, they have their heads turned on. And to make it clear that this isn't just a fluke, this is a philosophy, this is a set play style, and they are trying to push for those European places. Let's unpack the man, the method, and the mindset behind one of football's fastest rising tacticians. Hürzeler's story starts with an early pivot. Born in Houston, Texas, but raised in Munich, he was shaped in the Bayern Munich academy as a player. He was a talented youth player who realized quickly that his real passion wasn't necessarily playing, it was understanding the game. And by his early 20s, he had already shifted into coaching, joining the German Football Association to work with the U18 and U20 national teams. There he developed his hallmark traits of precision, structure, and player-centered communication. His big break came at St. Pauli in 2021 after a midseason managerial change. The club took a risk on their 29-year-old assistant. The decision sparked a transformation. St. Pauli became one of Germany's most exciting sides, defined by intensity, balance, and belief. That blend of tactical clarity and emotional intelligence caught Brighton's attention, and in 2024, after Roberto De Zerbi left the club, he made the leap into the Premier League. Play style and tactical identity. What makes his team so distinctive? Well, his tactical identity revolves around structured flexibility, balancing control and chaos through intelligent positioning and pressing. His preferred shape morphs between a 3-4-2-1 and a 3-1-5-1, depending on the phase of play. Wingbacks provide width and create constant 2v1s on the flanks. Center backs step into midfield to generate central overloads, and midfield pivots rotate to open vertical lanes and disorganize pressing lines of the opponents. And the result? A style that's compact defensively, fluid in possession, and aggressive in transition. Brighton under Hürzeler press in a coordinated and almost surgical way, funneling opponents into narrow spaces before collapsing with intensity. His mantra is, we don't chase, we control. And that control has already produced those signature performances, none bigger than its 2-1 win over Manchester City, where Brighton's press suffocated City's build-up and their quick vertical counters cut through Pep's midfield. Just a few weeks after that, they followed with a 3-1 win over Chelsea, a game that showcased Hürzeler's evolving attacking patterns, inverted fullbacks, high overloads in the half spaces, and dynamic interchanges across the front line. 2 statement wins and 2 master classes in adaptability. Now, they've had their ups and downs, right? They're trying to figure out how to balance this. They're trying to figure out, they've had a lot of squad rotation. They've sold some big name players. And what I think will help them to break through that, as they sit mid-table right now, is man management by Hürzeler and his leadership. What's maybe most impressive about his coaching style isn't just the tactics, it's his temperament. Being in his young 30s, in one of the toughest leagues in the world, he's coaching players that are sometimes older than him. James Milner is several years older than him, with hundreds of Premier League games under their belts. But his players speak about him with total respect. Why? Because he's clear. Every session has a purpose. Every role has a meaning. He doesn't just instruct, he explains. And then he demands what he wants, right? He uses data and video not to criticize, but to empower. Players see the why behind each decision, and that builds belief. He's kind of built for the modern player, a modern coach for the modern player. He's calm on the touchline, relational off of it, and deeply invested in the growth of his squad, not just tactically, but personally. And it comes through in his leadership through consistency and clarity, and his players echo this back to him, but also to the public. His debut Premier League campaign had its growing pains, early inconsistency, a learning curve with defensive transitions, and adapting to the physical tempo of Premier League football. But Brighton found their rhythm mid-season last year, and they ended up finishing 8th in the campaign, maintaining one of the league's best expected goal differentials outside of the top 6. They showed they could press the elite teams, they could control possession, and punch above their weight, all while last year developing players like Evan Ferguson and Ciso and Baleba in the process. Now, as the 25-26 season continues to unfold, those foundations are turning into results. Now, they've had turnover with some of their young players on the squad, young players being sold or loaned out other places. Wins over City and Chelsea have put the league on notice. And they've dropped some, significant points against teams that they maybe should have been getting wins against, or seeking to get a draw, drop the opportunity for a draw. But Brighton aren't a transition club anymore. They're not a yo-yo club anymore. Under Hürzeler, they continue to establish the success that Brighton felt under Potter, that they felt under De Zerbi, and he's continuing to rebuild their system, their culture into a clear footballing identity. What's fascinating about Hürzeler is that he didn't tear down what came before him. He refined it. Under De Zerbi, Brighton were known for patient buildup, and under Hürzeler, that buildup has a bit more purpose and punch to it. They play vertically quicker, exploit space faster, and attack with more coordinated runs. His teams operate in a 3-2 buildup shape, creating triangles through the center, while the far side wingbacks stays wide to stretch the field and offer that additional layer. It's small details like these, micro adjustments in positioning and tempo, that separate him from other young coaches. In short, he's modernizing modern football. And so what he represents isn't just, showing up as this young, cavalier, talented young manager. He's a symbol of football's generational shift. And there's other players in the game, coaches in the game that are indicative of that. But he's a part of a wave of thinkers along with Xabi Alonso, Ruben Amorim, and Will Still, who've grown up in an era where coaching isn't just about hierarchy, it's about ideas. He represents a future where coaches are system designers, relational leaders, and learners first. And with Brighton continuing to evolve tactically, sharp, emotionally grounded, and punching well above their weight, Hürzeler has become one of the clearest examples of what the future of modern coaching and football looks like. His rise has been nothing short of remarkable, from a 29-year-old in the second division of Bundesliga to leading Brighton into back-to-back top half, Premier League seasons is a very possible reality of finishing this year, doing it last year, winning against teams like Man City and Chelsea, against big-time managers. He's proving that age doesn't define authority, that clarity does. And while he might be young, not all of his players are. Danny Welbeck is getting up there in years and is leading the team and leading the line in goal scoring. James Milner is still contributing to this team in his older years and providing that mentorship to these younger players coming through. And it will be interesting to see how they ride out the rest of the season, their success throughout this season. What they spend is very different than some of the, the top 6, right? And what they've lost in some assets in João Pedro and in Evan Ferguson. And, they have players like Baleba coming through that everyone's got their eyes on. He's proving as a manager that age doesn't define authority, clarity does. And I think that's something, we see a lot of these managers who are stuck in their ways of the way that they want to play. The one credit I'll give to them, Ruben Amorim would be one of them, is that here's a defined way or a defined system in which we want to play. And I think these managers, it might end up coming to bite them when things get tough, but they're doubling down on being clear of, here's the kind of player I want. Here's the kind of style we're going to play. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens throughout the 25-26 season. But Fabian Hürzeler on the rise as a manager, shaking things up in the Premier League, paving a path forward for young managers and coaches. And I think this is a reminder that regardless if you're coaching, U10 soccer, if you're coaching, MLS Next, college soccer, high school soccer, or lower level professional, that being clear on what you want for your players, out of your players, can produce success. Now, we need to choose what those things that we want to be abundantly clear on are. Our formation, the roles we give to players, the tactics, the play style, the attitude, all of those different things. But I think Fabian Hürzeler is being very clear about that at the highest level, and it's paying off in droves. So if you've enjoyed this episode, would you subscribe? Would you like? Would you share a review? You can follow this show, Touchline Talk by Soccer Perspective, on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, and stay connected with what we're doing. Until next time, keep learning, keep leading, and stay the course on the touchline. We'll see you next time on Touchline Talk.